these essentially kicked off the development of Slizer.
What got Slizer into motion?
It's been a year since we released Behind BIONICLE, Episode 1, our documentary series. Been working on Episode 2. It's not done quite yet. A big thank you to everyone who did watch Episode 1. I've read all of your comments. Very insightful as well, and some things that we will be referring to. Because what I wanted to do here was actually take a closer look at Andrew Nagel's sketches.
There's lots of little details that we didn't highlight at the time, and some details that we did not know when we were first creating this documentary.
The episode talks about the origins of constructible action figures at LEGO, and his first go at it was in 1993. He was taking the already existing Technic Man figure, took them apart, and tried to figure out, can we extend this? Because it's like, as an industrial designer, seeing if there's already an existing platform means that it's cheaper to extend it. There's pieces that snap on. It sort of resembles a ball joint, but it's actually more akin to the ratchet joints that were used in Galador or Knight's Kingdom 2. Even the snap-on concept is similar to CCBS.
And that concept of this piece can be used as a spiky mohawk, but it can also be used for like back spikes.
Yeah, he was making creatures out of them. He mentioned that they're small and fiddly, maybe better for older kids, getting at the Technic range of 7 to 10. The Technic figures themselves were pretty static, like you could not take them apart or really modify them. Extending the Technic Man, like as an alternate history of LEGO action figures. It's just really cool to see that he was doing that. But obviously it did not go through.
No.
So he, in 1994, did another concept where he was told to add vehicles in because it's LEGO Technic, and kind of made a Transformers-looking action figure. It's a fun little concept of this guy with these snapping jaws, tubes, and then he's got eyes at the end of them. He mentions that maybe the tail could be used for steering control, tying in the character and the functionality of it. Obviously now there's LEGO Transformers for LEGO Icons, but this was the original Transformers concept.
Across 1993, 1994, there is the crossover of the Technic Man limbs being used still, but also the red mohawk. I think it has to do more with the 90s than it does Andrew, but I just really like that he's like, we can make them vehicles, but I will die on the hill of red mohawk.
Yeah, it's fun. And obviously taking cues from Marvel, like a Marvel art style. Mr. N actually found the exact comic of Spider-Man where Andrew traced this from. But yeah, this Transformers concept didn't go through because it was too fantasy-based. So trying to lean a bit more into having vehicles, but still having Technic figures with the same kind of limbs as well. Also, the tail steering control. If you can't control a vehicle by its tail, does it really even count as a vehicle?
It's so true.
To Andrew Nagel, not on my watch. The vehicles themselves would have very strict instructions, but with the animal, as he calls it, would have looser instructions so that kids were encouraged to create their own models. That's really the heart of LEGO, is the modularity of it. Also, comic book instructions. That was part of it, was like, there's this storyline that could be represented in the instructions themselves. So adding that kind of fantasy element, the Marvel styling. And in particular, one of the concepts is something that came up later, which was that 4 smaller models could be fixed together to form one large model. In 1996, they came up with this idea kind of inspired by collectible craze products, JoJo's Boneheads. What if you had a collection of characters? So it's collector. You gotta collect them all. With these designs, a ton of people mention BattleTech, where you have these sorts of mech designs. Somebody actually in the comments of episode 1 specifically mentioned the exact designs where some components were traced over. And we recently talked with Andrew Nagel again and asked him this question. Was Collector Revolver inspired by BattleTech? The answer is yes. And it happens a lot where in the development of these, you trace over certain components of things that are already existing, the kind of aesthetic that you want to go for, and then add on whatever new component to it. In particular for this, the Lego components, those were all new. So they're not exact copies of BattleTech designs, but certainly the components of them are traced over. It's just to sort of Legoize it, is how Andrew put it.
It is kind of funny that this is the case with BattleTech, because at various points in BattleTech's own history, it actually has gotten into severe legal lawsuits for doing exactly that, of tracing over various mech designs from manga and anime. And
Well, also, because this stuff is all within the LEGO group itself, to make a comparison, the actual Boneheads of Voodoo Island head is sort of like a Judge Dredd design. In advance, when they were doing concept meetings, they would have the Jurassic Park theme playing across some of their 3D animation. It's like, okay, yeah, we can't show this to anyone. So, legality for concept designs, don't worry about it. Nobody's gonna know outside.
dare I say, forget about it.
It's just sort of how development happens. You get inspired by all sorts of places. Brick by Brick also mentioned the team being inspired by manga, Japanese designs. These are those sketches, I think. I'm pretty sure. When the episode came out, Chuck Schwa mentioned that these designs looked like they used fiber optics, which were certain pieces that I think lit up for Technic, so that you could actually have this light up character. If you look at this one guy, he's got his fist in the air, like a laser beam cannon. Andrew mentioned like a motor where you would get this pull ring at the back, and you would pull it, then the character would move along just to make it through.
Speak to me.
These essentially kicked off the development of Slizer.
What got Slizer into motion?
Andrew mentioned that they had names at one point, but the only one that he could remember was Heliman, who has this kind of propeller. The chest piece kind of resembles the component that would be used for Electro.
Or Rock Slizer.
There's one character that the feet look a bit similar to what the Slizer shoulder piece would end up looking like, with the kind of ridges that it has. Obviously, this is all speculation. We don't know what aspects the design team took from Collector Evolver, but these were definitely the sketches that the design team used to create Slizer. It's Collector and Evolver. And so the evolving aspect of it is the combiner model concept, where you'd have two models, or maybe some Technic bits as well, and you could combine them together and create a vehicle. I think Toa of Plastic mentioned that the function of it looked quite close to the 2001 LEGO Racers line. They were called like Zalaxians, those Zalax racers, of like you slam this vehicle into a wall and it launches the skull. That was one concept that maybe originated here. With this sort of concept stuff, people can come up with the same concept at around the same time. And that's actually what we show in episode 1. It's the concept of multiple discovery. Independently, you're drawing from the same source of information, and you come to similar conclusions and go in a similar direction. So oftentimes that could also be what happens.
We're pointing out similarities here, but take it with a grain of salt. Don't say, oh, Andrew Nagel was actually the father of Zalax or whatever. Just don't do it.
Of course, a big thank you to Andrew Nagel. It really would not have been done without his help.
And for getting the permission to share these sketches with us, too. Because these were created for the LEGO group, they aren't necessarily in the public domain.
Thanks to everyone for watching Behind BIONICLE. We will get episode 2 done.
Yeah, and we hope that you enjoyed taking a closer look with us here at Closer Look. But of course, we should
Take a closer look